Hi, welcome to our show today. We have Tracee Dunblazier, and she is a Los Angeles-based empath, shaman, and 32-time award-winning author. She has spent decades living an alchemical life working with transformative grief as a guide. She was born multi-spirited with a profound innate awareness of the spirit world and deep compassion for all who hurt. Tracee's down-to-earth style embraces the humor of reality and has helped thousands to find radical acceptance, empowerment, and joy in their lives, no matter where they begin. Her national and international award-winning Go Tracee Publishing creates spiritual tools that have become game changers for those who suffer. Dunblazier is a charismatic keynote speaker and enjoys podcasting from her Chatcast and Be a Slayer platform, and currently serves as president of the Coalition of Visionary Resources, the trade organization for mind, body, spirit industry. So welcome, Tracee. Nice to see
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you.
Sorry, my bio was so long.
Hey, more information, the merrier. It's wonderful. Thank you so much for everything you do. It's so important. And especially, with the grief. And I think that's a heavy topic and energy that we need to address consistently. It's everybody goes through it in some way or another. So thank you for being here. And I guess we'll start with how you got started, your story, and what led you to where you are now.
Well, so many things, but I was born multi-spirited, as you said in the bio, and basically that means that I had multiple spirits attached to me, plus very vivid dreams of past life memories. And so I experienced a lot of spiritual trauma as a child. I consider myself demonically challenged at that age. I would have demonic visitations and other entity spiritual attack, that kind of a thing, from very, very early, 2, 3, 4, 5 years old. Somehow I on some level I understood, and I was able to preserve myself, transform the experience. It was one of the things that but I never shared it with anybody. And so that deep divide between myself, my life, how I see myself, and then how I interacted with other people was very divided for many years. And so it was that process of integration that gave me all the stories to tell. And I'm not going to say it inspired me to work with other people, because I never once considered doing this work for a living. It was other people. I was working with somebody. I was working actually in marketing at the time, and my supervisor found out that I did readings and asked me to start doing them on behalf of the company that I was working for, and that became really popular. I had long lines out the door on these big events that we would do, and I was like, wow, there's really something to this. People were coming to me and having these deeply cathartic experiences. It's supposed to be a fun, read my poem, and then they're bawling.
Yeah.
So anyway, so very shortly after all of that started, I did that in that way about 6 months, and then the company sold and that job went away for me, and I was like, I think I'm gonna do this. And then bringing you into the publishing, I still work, do sessions with people. I'm a certified grief counselor. I do soul retrieval and recapitulation. There's a lot of different techniques to use, past life readings and sessions. But sorry. I was right there, and then I was just, my mind went blank, like, oh, pretty shiny thing. How I got, so I had a dream. That I was at a hotel that was right across from the Taj Mahal. I still don't know how that fits in, but in the dream, I was an author, and I got a phone call from my publisher talking about my next book. And I was like, okay, well, yeah, why not? Me and my friends would always make fun of when we write a book, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, so inevitably, once I think things really shifted for me after my last parental figure died. There was this whole other level of freedom,
Mm.
and I think it's, I don't know. I think that as young people, and especially when you're psychic, and then there's a lot more freedom today for kids growing up in this world today. But before, there's this deep connection between the illusion of mental illness and spirituality. And I never really wanted to tell anybody. And of course, my mom knew that I was psychic, and she knew I was special. That's what the kids called it in the day. But so it was that her leaving the planet freed me on a whole other level I would have never guessed. And like, whatever her connections to that, I think when she took them with her, I was free to write. So I've got 10 books out at this point. I have a Go Tracee Publishing, which you talked about, and that's my story in a nutshell.
Okay. And how was it growing up with those experiences? I know that your experiences started when you were 2 or 3, but how was that going through school and high school? What was that like for you?
Well, I can't. I don't know that I can say it was lonely per se, but it was definitely. I was definitely divided, because during the day, I didn't have an understanding or alignment with other kids my age for the most part, because I was having these other deeper experiences that they couldn't really understand. So I didn't really speak of them, and it pushed me to take on many more leadership roles. So I ran for president of everything, and it was a way that I could legitimately skip school and you know feel useful, feel connected, but not have the continual sting of the frustration of talking about my personal story. I feel like I created a separate story that other people could align with. And so and then I cried myself to sleep pretty much every night.
Mhm.
I'm an empath, and that was always that processing that trauma, working through the images that would come, feeling
Mm.
everybody else's pain. Those were things that that was another part of it, that of the story, that I didn't really share with people at that time. So
Yeah.
I would be woo all day, cheerleader all day, and then bawl my little eyes out until I fell asleep, and then get up and do it again.
Yeah. What age or when did you realize that you had that gift?
Well, I always understood. It was always a part of me, and I always understood it.
Mm.
um I think that the connection between who I am and that other people aren't that way. So this is how I am, and I assumed that other people were that way.
Mm.
Um, and I still assume that other people are that way. It's different levels, I guess, of awareness or choice for it. Um, but I think that my mother was instrumental in helping me really understand that that I am the way that I am, and not everybody sees things as I do. That was what she would say. It wasn't diminishing me or them. It was just pointing out that there's this big space in between. And I always appreciated that.
Yeah. No, that's supportive
Yeah.
in so many ways.
And short, she she
Yeah.
was very, very uh she wasn't soft spoken, but she didn't have a lot to say about things, which I think I was always hurt by that, because I took it as, on some level, as like I'm not valuable enough or important enough to spend. But as I grew older, I completely understood that she wasn't going to put her ideology on me, or her lack of understanding on me. And I was like, wow, mom was two thumbs up for mom, because that was deep, you know,
Yeah.
especially at that time, trusting me
Hmm.
and knowing that she didn't have to protect me,
Yeah.
you know? So
Do those gifts run in your family?
they do. A lot of my family members think of them as mental illness. My grandfather died in an asylum in 1956, and I had another grandmother from my father's side. My father was very deeply intuitive and spiritual, but he died very early. I was 12 when he died. And then his mother, I'm certain that she was psychic and empathic. But I lost, after my dad died, we lost track of her in terms of spending. I never spent a lot of time with her, so it was never a conversation that we had.
Right. Interesting. Just this morning, interesting that you said the mental illness, and it's interesting because just this morning I saw that there's a connection between mental illness and abilities, psychic abilities. And
Absolutely.
so, yeah, that's a whole nother topic. I mean,
Yes, yes, there is a ton to talk about on this, but I think,
yeah,
mental illness is spiritual illness.
yes.
And Western medicine, for where they're at right now, I'm not mm, I'm not pro Western medicine by any stretch, but I do think that there are cases, if somebody is going at risk of hurting themselves or others, that drugs are necessary.
Right.
And we're it is a part of our ascension process as human beings that we begin to transform and transcend, and that brings on bouts of depression and bouts of anxiety, or sometimes even chronic anxiety and chronic depression. But
Yeah.
both of those processes that we as humans go through, I think, are intended on a deeper level to bring us a new level of awareness.
Right.
uh, and so at some point, whether it's in this life or another, you're going to have to sit aside the medication and start going with the flow that of the energy and information that's coming in those deeply sacred times.
Right. Right. Because not only are we upgrading, but we're also deconstructing those old programs. And so
Yes,
that's what can be tiring and draining.
absolutely. And that's what causes the chronic anxiety and the I cried every day of my life until I was 50. I knew that I would eventually unseat the burdens that I carried with me,
Mhm.
but crying just became a natural grief became a natural part of my everyday living. And I embraced it. Like, I appreciate it.
Right. There's so much power and beauty in that. So thank you. And so what led you to write your first book? Tell us about your first book that you released.
So, so the first book turned out to be the first two books. It The first book, the manuscript was almost 500 pages, and I was like, this is not going to work. There's a formula for nonfiction. People don't really like over 180 to 200 pages. And so anyway, so I split the book in half, and it became Master Your Inner World and Heal Your Soul History. And the angle of the, and this actually, Jane Overland, in fact, Jane Overland was the character that was the call that I received to write the book 15 years prior to that.
Oh,
I wrote her into the first book. But
okay.
my first book was it was basically the story of the guides that had walked with me on my journey over probably several thousand years. But it was my relationship to them today, the experiences that I had, and then kind of a how to uh, back and forth about understanding about uh, being haunted, understanding the multidimensional world, how we participate with it. I use the word, it's called the Demon Slayer's Handbook series. It's a series of 3 books. And I really wanted to, when you use the D word, people get freaked out. And there are so many lay people, just people who aren't necessarily into metaphysics, but they're having these spiritual experiences. And as you know, you're in New Mexico. There's a huge Catholic contingent there, and there are a lot of entities that are, it's a relationship that doesn't empower you to recognize that you have the power in the situation. So my first 2 books, dealing with the multidimensional world, and then the second one, Heal Your Soul History, which was about processing out past timelines, past lives, and working through um, the suffering that I was unable to in those lives because those lives were cut short.
Right.
So I talk about 5 different lives that I lived and channeled the story and then did the how-to and then my personal relationship to it.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
I love that.
So it was kind of like your interpersonal world, your spiritual world, and then the third book, which is the last book of that series called Conquer Your Karmic Relationships,
Mm.
helps people to take the understanding of that patterning and bring it to uh, a global and cosmic level, like how we understand culture, society, uh, you know, how the planet, how we interact with the planet, how we deal with other people and species, which we are just learning to acknowledge, right? That there are other beings in the cosmos. So I
Right.
talk about all of those, and then the different ways in which a human being, all the tools that we have to access that information, and that's what the third book is about.
Wonderful. I love that you share your personal story as well as a how-to. I think that's so important because,
Yeah,
we all mirror each other, right?
we
So
do.
I, it's whatever's going to help you is going to help someone else. So
Absolutely,
thank you.
absolutely.
And what other books do you have out there?
Well, I am so excited to share with you. So I have a new I want to say set, but it's a series. It's called Your Crystal Allies,
Oh,
and there are 3 different books, and each book contains 12 12 crystals that we focus on. For one is for working with trauma and navigating change.
mhm.
One is for making money and managing resources. And then one is for giving, receiving, and connecting with the cosmos. So it's your relationship to everything else and yourself. And
Yeah.
then this is the fun part. This is your Crystal Allies
Mhm.
44 Sacred Altar Cards and Oracle set. And this has the 40 cards of the 40 cards of the book in
Mhm.
an altar card form.
Ah,
So, like, here's opportunities. This is uh, Bumblebee Jasper.
yes, I love it.
And so it's an oracle set as well. So you can pull a card and get an oracle reading, or you can work with the energy of the stone by leaving this on your altar
Mhm.
all day, all night, all week, whatever, however you want to work with it. You set an intention, you ask a question, and then you work with the energy of the stone.
Right. Right.
So
So quick question. So I know that stones are very powerful if you put them under your pillow. Would that be the same thing as putting your card under your pillow if you sleep and would
absolutely.
okay, so you could use it that way?
So quartz crystal, the Earth's crust is made up of almost 20% of quartz crystal. So at any given time, we human beings are connecting with the power of that energy. We have
Right.
access to it, and we have access to it telepathically over time and space. You
Mhm.
don't have to, you can have a stone with you, but you don't have to have the stone with you.
Right.
And uh, like this is chrysocolla. This is made of
Mhm.
3, and sometimes this one has 4 different minerals in it. And as you connect to this is a very um, heart opening and uh, connective stone to help you understand why people do what they do. Right. So you would take this card and you can do whatever kind of ritual you would like. I'm an altar builder, so I like to create an altar and set an intention or ask a question. And then, over time, through mindfulness, I become aware of the messages that the stone has for me. But
Right.
this is a stone you could, like, if say things are going in your life not how you expected and not how you wanted, this can help connect why things are happening the way they are and why it's valuable.
Mhm.
Right? Everything happens, I don't want to be trite, but I will, for a reason. Right? Everything happens for us for a purpose, and when we can more deeply understand that purpose, we can better understand when the thing we want, what timeline that's going to come on, and the way in which we can access it, like
Right.
what we need to do next to be on that path to have that thing.
Right. So will
Right?
it assist in recognizing any blocks that one might have?
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. Or sometimes understanding, we deal with people. We have our family. Those are our karmic relationships that we don't necessarily get a choice in, but we get a choice in how we relate to them. Then we have a whole group of people that we have all the choice in. We can choose to be around them or not. Right. And so when we begin, or we can choose to be in a situation or not. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And so working with stones helps you to more deeply understand why you are choosing, attracting and choosing what you are, and
Mm-hmm.
whether or not you need to stay in that alignment or not.
Correct.
And then how to move forward, whatever that means.
Right.
Right. But the more information you have about what it is that your soul has a goal. And when you
Mhm.
more deeply understand what that goal is,
Yes.
you uh it creates a freedom that eliminates the anger, the bitterness, the frustration, that often comes when we don't get what we want.
Yeah, no,
Right.
exactly. It really helps to know your purpose, path, and mission. But, even if someone's not on that path quite yet or awakened to that,
Right.
this can help them get on to that right path of alignment for them.
Exactly.
And it's perfect that they can do it themselves. So they don't have to.
Exactly. You don't need anybody else. Just and each of these stones I I own, or I know exactly where they are. And the intent was that how this came about, this was kind of a funny very short funny story, but I have one of my stones, and in fact this one here, this is a trans channeling quartz. It's a pretty big stone, and it said to me one day, I want a bigger audience. I want to work with more people than just you. And I'm like, okay. So then I thought of doing the books, and then the card deck idea came after that. And so this is your opportunity to work with this stone energetically by witnessing it, by connecting with it, by calling on it.
Right.
Yes.
Right.
So
Definitely. And I have the understanding that when quartz crystals attract more information, then they actually grow. They
yes.
grow in that way, which is
Yes.
fascinating.
Isn't it?
So, oh, wonderful.
Absolutely.
What other card decks do you have for us?
I have a Rainbow Warrior activation deck, but it's far away.
Okay, sure, no
I can
worries.
I,
Tell us
do you,
about
do
that.
you want to do you want me to grab it, or I can just talk? It's a fabulous deck that I collaborated with Justine Cerebrin. She's an intuitive artist.
Nice.
She will also, well, she was at the Expo last year. I'm not sure if she'll be at the Expo this year, but she is an amazing intuitive artist, and her art, it's so layered with energy and information. They are channeled images that when you connect with it, you never see it the same twice, ever.
Oh,
And
interesting.
so between coupled with her images and my connecting to a particular dynamic
Right.
and the different layers of that dynamic, you as the querent are left to intuit what the meaning is for you in that moment.
Mm-hmm.
It's intended to educate and expand your understanding, your awareness, and for you to access your own story.
Right.
Right. So,
Beautiful. And I have seen that deck before, and I've
yes.
kind of shuffled through it one time before, and it is very beautiful. I do love the art.
Isn't
But
it?
it's very interesting that you said that when you go back, you'll see some other art that you haven't seen before. It's like watching a movie again.
It is.
You catch some stuff you hadn't missed. But then again, it also resonates with what you need at that time.
Right.
So it'll change.
Exactly.
That's fascinating.
Exactly. I'll show you this one too. This
Yeah.
is Transformative Grief. This is what I promoted last year at the Expo. I did a whole workshop on it. We had such a good time at the workshop. Anyway, it's Transformative Grief, an ancient ritual of healing for modern times. And so if you are grieving, if you know people who are grieving, it gives you a really a much deeper understanding of all the ways in which we grieve, why
Right.
it's valuable, what it does for us. And then I also give you rituals at the end of each chapter that you can create your own mystical practice of
Right.
connecting with your grief.
Okay, so that's also a how-to with education information. And then is that also in like a journal type, or are people able to to work with that book in that way?
Yes, there are quite a few exercises in it. There are
Okay.
also quite a few anecdotes from different, not as many for me. This is the one book that is less centered on me and more centered on people that I've worked with
Okay.
over the years, or I've known over the years, who were generous enough to reveal some of their trauma, and then allowed me to include it in the stories of the book, and then expand on that from a spiritual perspective, from my perspective.
Well, that's a blessing, isn't it?
Yeah.
To
Yeah.
share other people's perspectives, So thank
Yeah.
you. And whoever is in that book, I send a thank you to them as well.
Yes.
And that workshop you did last year, or this last one, that was pretty fascinating, because you also covered the topics of how grief can be, like the process of grief can even be
Yes.
programmed, how it's right and wrong in certain cultures.
Right. Yeah, what we believe about grief. A lot of people consider grief as or emotion as weakness, and it's
Yeah.
not. It's an opening and an awakening and a integrity building experience.
Hmm.
And when you allow yourself to grieve, you have no vulnerability. Nobody can get in. Nobody can make you feel worse. You know what I
Right.
mean? the
Yeah.
power the power that we give other people often happens because we've not accepted who we are through our own grief.
Right. Right.
Right.
Definitely. No, that's very important. Thank you.
Yeah.
And then what about this year for the expo? I know you're going to be on the expo in 2024 in February in
Yeah,
LA. That's going to be very exciting.
it
And
is.
so, is this your first time at the expo?
Oh gosh, no.
Okay.
So I have I realized, I was talking with Christine about this, and we have been going to the expo, I think, pretty much since it began, and as a consumer, and then I've been presenting and vending at the expo for almost 10 years now.
Fast,
I think this will be my 10th year.
right?
Yeah,
Wonderful.
so I'll have all of my books, all of my decks.
Okay.
Occasionally I do readings. I'm doing a couple of lectures and a panel. So I'm very excited.
Yes, let's talk about what you're offering. So at your vendor table, you will have books and decks, and you will be doing readings, or you might be doing readings.
Um, I'm always open to doing readings for sure. I
Okay.
don't necessarily set up to do that because it's I've got, so as the president of Cover, we're doing a cover booth and Go Tracee publishing booth. So
Okay.
I'll be there for both of them.
Right.
In addition to other members of the organization. Um, but yes, I'm always open to doing readings
Yeah.
if
Okay.
somebody really needs that. And then you can actually choose a card. We'd always do little one card readings with both of the decks.
Yeah. Wonderful. I love it. And so you are hosting a free lecture,
Yes,
and the title of that is Crystal Allies for Manifesting. And that's
yes,
going to be Saturday, February 10th
yes.
at 12 o'clock to 12:45. That is a free lecture for if anybody wants to go to that. And it's in Room Century D. And tell us what you will be offering in that free lecture.
Well, we're going to be working with this book, which is the 12 best gems and minerals for making money and managing resources. So if you want to make money, you've got to learn to manage what you have well. Right? It doesn't matter how much, if you doesn't matter how much money you have if you're not managing it well, if you are wasteful with it, if you are not aware of where what you do with your money, the kind of return you get for your money. There's a lot of everybody has a relationship to lack and to the way in which we use our resources, and how we use our resources is indicative of how we see ourselves, how we see others, our own self-loathing. Like, there's all kinds of deeper emotional lines of energy and understanding that is expressed through the way we participate with money. So we're going to be talking a little bit about that, and we're going to talk about the different crystals that you can work with to become aware of any obstacles you might have in your relationship to money, and making it and keeping it.
Right.
Right. How
Right.
you get in flow of
Yeah.
not just money. They, of course, you've heard 1,000 times, you know, how many times somebody's won $1 million or millions of dollars from the lotto, and then within, you know, 2, 3, 4 years, they're broke again.
Okay.
Right. And so people want a lot of money. They see that as a status symbol, but they never really consider that having a lot of money is a full-time job. Right. It's not, it doesn't make things easier. It makes them much more complicated. It also, you know, makes you a target. You know, it does, money does a lot of things. It can help some, but you've got to be really centered in who you are and your relationship to money and your ideals around money. Because anytime you begin to make money, all of that will be revealed, and you will either be prepared or not.
Right. It's all about the respect and responsibility for money.
Yes,
And
exactly.
so will that also address anybody who might have that conditioning with money that might have any blocks there as well?
Of course.
Okay.
So when I do lectures, of course, I've got the main crux of what I want to talk about, and the crystal. I'll probably bring. I always bring show and tell crystals that people can work with during the lecture. And then I do a Q&A, because it's really important that people who are coming have the opportunity to get the information that they really needed.
Right.
You know,
Right.
so there's what I plan to say, and then there's what gets said.
Yes.
And it's always I always intuit the room when I'm putting the lecture together. I'm pretty good at that. You know, it's in some other dimension, it already exists. So I'm tapping into the ones who will be there and what they're going to need. But
Right.
absolutely, when people come, they need to get what they came for, and I want to do
Yeah.
that.
No, definitely. That'll be a great opportunity for anybody who joins that free lecture. And so you're also going to be on a panel
Yeah.
that's going to be called Mystical Visions.
Mm-hmm.
That one is going to be on Friday the 9th at 3 p.m. to 5 p.m.
Yes.
And so what do you know so far about that panel?
Pretty much absolutely nothing. I mean, it's last year it was a magic and divination panel.
Okay.
Um, so it is always about how you access the other dimensions of energy, and always we end up talking about tools that you use, crystals, cards, pendulum. You know, we got into a huge conversation last year about Ouija boards and whether or not they're evil. And anyway, it's a
Yeah.
great opportunity to get any questions you have answered. There's always a wide array of people with different philosophies and belief systems that are, you know, there to talk to you about what it means and what it is. For me, I'm a solitary practitioner. I don't follow any one path. I am very witchy. You know, I also connect deeply to many African religions and Santeria, and you know, I'm definitely multicultural in my beliefs. Native thinking, native tribes, Lakota specifically. So I have a lot of connection to multicultures, um, and I believe that we all connect in to certain things, and I think that we deserve to have the freedom to do that without judgment.
Yes.
So it's when you see all these people living living their lives so fully in whatever pantheon, like I'm the only one that's like that. Over the last few years, everyone else has had a specific path that
Right.
they follow.
Okay.
I understand a little bit of each path, and so we're all represented essentially. So that makes the panel a really interesting experience to witness and to participate in.
Yeah, it's going to be a great discussion. I love that everyone has their own history and background and beliefs,
Yeah,
and that they're able to share that authenticity. That's what's important.
absolutely,
And
without
so,
judgment.
yes.
I want to say that, because I think
Yes.
um, it's one thing to not judge, but the truth is we are all people, and we all judge on some level for some things. And so to witness a group of professionals who show you what it's like to disagree but not judge,
Right.
I don't know that last year that really stuck out to me. There was a lot of disagreement, but everybody was really kind about it and
Yeah.
loving and open-hearted. And
Right.
anyway,
Yeah.
I thought that for me was what was one of the special things, was to be able to witness that, because sometimes we need to be reminded of that, and sometimes we need to be shown how to do it.
Yes.
And
Yes. You have
sometimes,
to, yeah, definitely honor other people's perspectives
yeah,
because that can open a new door for you. It really can.
absolutely. But
So,
sometimes, I mean, I'm not going to lie. The world right now is an awful place. I mean, it's hard. But it's rough. There are some rough things happening, and sometimes people get so emotional or so upset and so angry.
yeah.
So to witness the process that one goes through to not do that, to not respond in that way, like that's something that we don't teach.
Right.
Anyway, I don't know why that was just one of the things that really came up last year, that I was like, wow, this is a really impressive group of folks.
Yeah, it is.
Because,
And what do you love about the expo?
um, the diversity in spiritual paths, the freedom that people have to be exactly who they are, how they are, and why they are.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, that and of course the wide array of products. You find so many amazing books. There's so many amazing, authors and product creators there. Um, it's awesome to see that level of creativity, and then the success that people have gleaned for themselves through their life path. It's inspiring for
Yes.
whatever level you're at.
Yeah, even if someone's attending as a professional or if someone's attending as a guest, there's so much for everybody there. Which is amazing.
Absolutely.
So,
One of the other lectures that I'm doing is for the Coalition of Visionary Resources. We do a small business lecture,
okay.
and this will be our third year of doing that. Um, and it was there's so many people that come to the expo who want to start a mind body spirit business, and they don't really know how to go about doing it. And so Cover, the organization, we're a trade organization for the mind body spirit marketplace,
Mhm.
and we offer education for people, whatever level, whatever stage of their business that they're at. And so we always talk about small business. We always have 2 or 3 members join me in the lecture, and people can ask questions about how they want to get started, or how they want to, amplify or move forward, expand their business. So it's
Yeah.
it's a good
Well,
lecture as well.
well, that's great. And how can people reach you on your website do you have one or two websites?
I have 2 websites.
Okay.
The first one is TraceeDunblazier.com, which is TraceeDunblazier.com. And then there's GoTraceePublishing.com, which is also BeASlayer.com. And then I do have a new podcast coming out, or which, well, it will be out in January. It's called Be a Slayer podcast, and we're going to talk about we're going to reveal all the taboos that people have about certain topics, or topics that are difficult to talk about. We're going to talk about racism, sexuality, book banning, all of these different spirituality, relationships. We're going to talk about uh, things in an honest way, so that people can get used to talking about things that bring up internal conflict in a peaceful way. That's the purpose.
Oh, I
That's
love
that's how you get to be a slayer.
Yeah. Just put it out on the table and unpack it,
Exactly.
right?
Unpack it.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And what can we find from your websites?
Well, TraceeDunblazier.com tells you, it will tell you everything that I do. It has links to both of my podcasts. It has all of the all I'm frequently a guest on different podcasts for different things. I've been doing a huge press tour for the Transformative Grief. So I think I've got 10 different interviews, and you can find all of that on my media page on my site. And then of course my books, you'll see everything that you can even shop. I always encouraged people to shop indie. You can buy stuff from me, and that's fine to do that, but buying it on Amazon or going to Barnes and Noble, or like I said, my favorite is to shop independent bookstores, go and order. Everybody has access to my book. It's distributed everywhere, so they can. Anyway, I recommend that you buy it where it counts.
Definitely. Yeah, whatever is easier. And it also
Exactly.
depends on where they're at in the world, if they're international or not.
Exactly. And then beaslayer.com is the book site. It's I also am a hybrid publisher, so if somebody is interested in publishing a book, that's one of the things that I do. You can hire me and or my company to help you publish your book, and that's what Be a Slayer is about. Is all my products, wholesale, retail, and publishing.
Great. I love that. Thank you. And how can our community reach out to you through social media?
So many ways. Pretty much it's all at Go Tracee. Instagram is at Go Tracee. Swell is at Go Tracee. TikTok is at Go Tracee. Although, if you look me up, I need TikTok friends. I just got on TikTok. I haven't spent much time there. So, but and of course Facebook. I am on Facebook. I've got Tracee Dunblazier and at Go Tracee. I've got lots of different pages on Facebook. So, and
Wow.
I just canceled my Twitter. So I'm not, or X. I'm not on X anymore. So you can't find me there.
No, that's okay. That's all right. I'm sure we can find you on other social media platforms
Yes.
and we can follow your events and other things that you're doing there. That'd be wonderful.
Yes.
Wonderful. And is there anything else that you would like to share with our audience today about what you do or your event for the Conscious Life Expo that's coming up in 2024?
Well, I really, I just, this is such a powerful time. It is a powerful time to walk through the door that you've been avoiding. So whatever that is, there's always, to persevere, there's always an answer to whatever it is that you need. And, it's less about me and more of an encouragement for people to walk through the door that they've wanted to for a long time. And you can find lots of ways, lots of ways to do that and lots of support to do that at the expo. So
Right, definitely. Well, we look forward to seeing you at the expo, the Conscious Life Expo in 2024. And we
yes.
will post your websites and your social
Good.
media for anyone who's interested in connecting with Tracee and finding more of her books or Oracle decks or her services.
Yeah.
So, and do you have any last messages for anybody who has not gone to the expo? Is there any special messages for them today?
Yeah, wear comfortable shoes. It is a long day. It is fun, but it can be really overwhelming, because it's always packed with people and there's so much to look at all the time.
Right.
Just go, be relaxed, and you really want to go for the whole weekend because there's so much to see.
True.
If you can go for the whole weekend, you want to do that because there are so many things to see. There's so many, you can have all kinds of readings and massages and healings, and there's all kinds of stuff to buy. So you want to go prepared to do all of that.
Yeah, what I would like to recommend for anybody who hasn't gone is take a journal with some notebook papers. How you can take notes, because I know that being
Yes.
in those lectures and workshops,
Yes.
there's a ton of information that comes through.
Yes.
So bring a pen and paper.
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
wonderful.